Hello YouTube, Dave here again. So I'm still in the middle of my getting ready for Halcon stuff, so that's kind of why you see like the 1-inch grid paper here. But today my fiance took me down to Giant Robot Comics to pick up a few things that I had set aside for myself there until I got some money in. And so my knee's still giving me a lot of issues. Hopefully this video comes out, clear and coherent. But today I'm going to be looking at the magic item cards released by Gale Force 9. So this product came out less than a week ago, or just about a week ago, I think actually. The other came out last Tuesday or Wednesday, at least here in Nova Scotia. So I thought I would just sort of give these a look. So it's a pretty hefty box. You just see on the side, just says all the same thing, magic item cards. Now on the back here, we'll just read the little blurb. So it says it contains 295 durable laminated cards for a horde of magical weapons, armor, and other miscellaneous items. With game statistics on one side and evocative art on the other, they are the perfect tool to help dungeon masters equip their villains or dole out the rewards to their players' heroes. So this is something I was really looking forward to. I know that like there's game mastery cards that have been out there for a while. And Pathfinder has had several of these types of card sets. And with the Pathfinder one, and especially with the Game Mastery one, from the videos that I've seen, all the cards actually have the proper art depicting whatever they're supposed to be on the on like one side of the card, and then they have the game statistics on the other. So the magic spellbook cards I absolutely love. I use them quite frequently. They're really fantastic items, and I was really looking forward to this one. Right off the bat, one thing that I will say is it seems like they're using maybe a few stock images, but they're definitely not trying to actually get images of everything. Because if you look at their depiction of Horseshoes of the Zephyr, that's just a generic pile of things, which looks like it's probably what they're going to use for most of their miscellaneous or wondrous magic items. So we'll open it up anyway, if I can get it away. I don't want to damage anything. So these boxes can be pretty tough to get, especially these larger ones. I don't want to rip anything or whoop. So let me just, I'm just going to take my time, and as soon as I get this open, I will be back. Alright, so I got it open here. I was trying to do it just by hand for about a minute or so, and it just wasn't coming. So what I had to do is I got my knife here to cut the plastic. So I just took stuck the knife in through the top with the blunt edge and used that to sort of pry it open. But we got them here, so let's just have a look and see. So I believe this is actually even a larger set than the arcane spells, the one that they had there. Alright, so we got two giant stacks. I'm not going to look through necessarily every single card, but we'll just go through and look at a few of these and just see some of the artworks on the back and kind of see what we have here. I also have a bunch of blank or empty Dragon Shield boxes, so I'm thinking I might put these cards in there. In those boxes, and that way I could just keep this on the shelf and not worry about, because as tight as it was to get it open, now it may get easier as time goes on, but I'm really worried about having the box rip. I did have my Paladin spellbook cards that completely just came undone. I had to super glue it back shut, or super glue it back together. And basically now I just have the empty box on my shelf for display purposes, and the cards themselves are actually in an empty Dragon Shield box as well. So, alright, let's just go ahead and have a look here. So let's start off with the Necklace of Adaptation. So you got the image on the back there, which is nice. I don't know if this one was in the Dungeon Master's Guide or not. And then you just have the description. So one thing I will say right off the bat is I kind of wish they had the text shrink to fill the space as it was needed and not start with the smallest possible size. But what we have here is the Rarity, which is nice, that it requires attunement. There are some, I'll see if I can find some things, because there are some things that require attunement by a spellcaster. So I just want to see if they actually have that listed there as well. And it just says, when wearing this necklace, you can breathe normally in the environment, and you have advantage on saving throws made against harmful gas and vapors. So yeah. So pretty cool, but again, the font, they could have made that larger to fill up more of the card, and make it easier to read, and, you know, logically speaking, the more text that you need to put on there, the more it's going to fill up. So we've got the Adamantine Armor, and again, it's only 3 lines, so I think they could have made better use of the. Oh, let's see what we got here. Get it to focus would be nice. Okay, so on the bottom it actually gives, so we got the Wondrous item there, armor, so it does say the type on the bottom there, I completely missed that, but you got, so armor, medium or heavy, but not hide armor, because it's metal armor, and just lets you know that while you're wearing it, critical hits become normal hits. So again, something that they really could have made that text bigger for the little amount that was on there. It's still nice to have, like I said, you know, overall, these are still going to be useful, but there are some things that, you know, maybe that maybe just be worth pointing out, that some things, again, might be, like, the images may not be the ones that you're looking for. Now, again, they've got all the things that they had the images of in the Dungeon Master's Guide, you are going to find here. So, for the most part, like I said, this is actually a really good item. You got your Dragon Slayer sword. Let's just see. Or any sword, drift globe. So, yeah, actually, for the most part, I'm seeing a lot more images than I thought I would. Some of them obviously are going to be similar. So, Adamantine Armor and Armor of Vulnerability have the same thing. Now, okay, so this is sort of an example of how they could have done this a little bit better. Just having an image of a shield and not the armor and shield would have been a little bit better, in my opinion, just to make it look, again, when you compare this to some of the Pathfinder ones, if it was a shield, it would have just been an image of a shield, but still, like I said, the actual, you know, text itself is what you're really going for. But it would be nice to be able to just say to your players, you know, here's what the item kind of looks like. So the shield's not even facing towards the front of the card, so a little bit disappointing there. But overall, like I said, the Dungeon Master's Guide actually did have a fair number of things actually shown. So they actually did present a lot of different images and stuff there. So, like I said, for the most part, this is, again, really, really useful. The belts. And I am seeing more unique pieces of art than I was expecting, so which is a good thing. See if I can just get these separated so they work a little bit easier with me here. So you got the Berserker Axe. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just wanted to see. So yeah, there we go. So we've got, and this is a minor nitpick, but you've got how many different types of boots here? I think that's all of them. Come on now. Alright, yeah. So these are all the different boots that you can get out of the Dungeon Master's Guide. So you got the Boots of Elvenkind, which you chose. You've got Boots of Speed, which it shows. You've got Boots of Springing and Striding, which they have an image of. And then you have Boots of the Winterlands. But then you have Boots of Levitation, and I would have been perfectly fine with them reusing sort of maybe this image, or just getting a generic set of boots on the card. Instead, we have the spell book, the scroll, the wand, and some crystals and rings and stuff. So that's where it's a little bit disappointing. I mean, having the arrow catching shield, at least there was a shield on the artwork. This is, again, sort of a minor nitpick, but you know, and this is all that's on there, right? So this is really not a useful card at all. It's one sentence and a generic image on the back. So that is, again, a little bit disappointing, because all the other ones at least have something. Even just a generic looking pair of leather boots, in my opinion, would have been a bit more preferable. But that said, this is still going to be a useful item all around, even if there's a few cards that are kind of duds. There's still some great stuff in here. So, as far as I can tell, I believe this is just stuff from the Dungeon Master's Guide. I don't think this goes out to, and there's another example of that being used. Cape of the Mountebank, the Carpet of Flying. So I don't think they've expanded out into other things like from the adventure paths or campaigns, I guess I should say. I think this is just stuff from the Dungeon Master's Guide, but overall, even though there's a few like kind of minor nitpicky issues with it, I still think this is a really useful item overall. All right. All right. I appreciate this. So, nitpicks aside, this is pretty funny. And I rescind just about everything that I've said because that is actually clever. It reminds me of the second edition AD&D Monstrous Manual entry for the Invisible Stalker. So to me, that's pretty funny. I will give them that. I'm just trying to see if I can find something that required attunement by a spellcaster specifically. It's weird that they don't have an image for Crystal Ball, though. I mean, of all the things that you would think would be on a generic image for magic items, that a Crystal Ball would be among them. I'm just trying to keep these in alphabetical order. Cubic Gate, Darren's Instant Fortress, Dagger of Venom, Dancing Sword. I'm probably not going to find anything here. I'll probably have to open up the other one. So Dragon Scale Armor. Oh, okay. Yeah, that looks cool. I like that. Dimensional Shackles, Demon Armor. Okay, yeah, and I believe they have the image for that in the Dungeon Master's Guide as well. So let's just put all that stuff back together. So I'm looking for. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go into the next stack because I'm looking for something like the wands and stuff like that. So let's. Whoa, what's this? Oh, Instrument of the Bards. Let's just have a quick look at those and see if they show the proper instruments. They should actually, because as soon as I said that, I realized that they had the images for them in the DMG. So there's Horseshoes of Speed, Horseshoes of a Zephyr. Sorry, not of the Zephyr. Horn of Valhalla, Horn of Blasting, Holy Avenger. Okay, this will work. So yeah, I was trying to see there are certain items that require a particular character type to be able to attune to them. So I wanted to see if they had that in there, and they do. So I'm sure the other items have it as well. So you've got the Holy Avenger, legendary, requires attunement by a paladin, sword, any sword. Gain a +3 bonus to attack rolls and damage rolls made with the weapon. When you hit a fiend or undead with it, the creature takes an extra 2d10 radiant damage. Yeah, so okay, that's cool. And the image actually does show the Holy Avenger, which I believe was in the Dungeon Master's Guide as well. Keyword's Handy Haversack, Helmet Teleportation, Helmet Telepathy, Helmet Brilliance, Headband of Intellect. Okay, so overall, I think that this is something that is going to be very, very useful in your campaign. Flipping through the Dungeon Master's Guide to try to find the description of the magic items and make sure your players write down the description of their magic items can always be a bit of an issue, and I know that from first-hand experience. So overall, this is going to be a handy, useful item that you're probably going to want at your table. So if you're, even as a player, this is something that's going to be handy for you to have, although I think a Dungeon Master is probably going to get more use out of it, just because that way, a Dungeon Master can take it just to their tables and just have it with all their character stuff. Like for my home D&D game, the players just leave their character sheets here, and so I use my spell cards and stuff like that. So overall, this is a really, really, it's a cool thing to have. I like the cards overall, in general. So I will say that at the end of the day, I would recommend these, particularly to dungeon masters, to make things a little bit easier for you. You can have the cards ready. I would suggest that if you do use these, or if you want to make the best use of these at your table, try to roll random treasure ahead of time so you can have the cards ready and you're not searching through them. So on the positive side, it has the descriptions of the magic items, which is, again, always something that is going to be useful. And yeah, so I think that that's really good. On the negative side, because I want to present sort of a balanced look at this, and this may, for some people, this is something that can, be a deal breaker. So the artwork is, for the most part, I would say the majority of the items are going to have the art present on the back of the card that shows exactly what it is. However, there are going to be several instances where it's going to be sort of more generic art that is going to be repeated several times throughout. So, for example, the Mithril Armor has the same artwork on the back of the card as the arrow-catching shield and the Adamantine Armor, and several other things. So there's going to be that. Some of the placeholder stuff that they have could have been more useful. For example, even just a static or generic image of things like the boots for the boots of levitation, I thought would have been a lot better than seeing a spell book, a wand, some crystals, and some rings. Because if you're going to have every other set of boots have their own individual image, to have one that uses the most generic of placeholder images is a little bit disappointing. Now, a lot of the reservations I had based on that was instantly melted away when I saw the artwork for the Cloak of Invisibility, because I love stuff that's clever like that. At the end of the day, I do highly recommend these for Dungeon Masters, or even for if you're a player and you have the money to spend. The Canadian price for these was around $40, so it's it's the most expensive set of cards that I have purchased to date. I understand that there's also plans to release monster cards, like for the monster manual. And I'm interested to see what those are like and what they do for the artwork on the back, because not all creatures actually had artwork in the monster manual. Most of them did, but there are a few instances where maybe I think there are a few things that didn't actually have the artwork depicted. So we'll sort of see how that goes. I'll be interested to see how that works out. So some of the artwork is disappointing on the back of the card. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more diversity in their placeholder images or in their stock images for things that they didn't have a very specific piece of art for. But overall, still pretty cool. Just keep in mind that there are going to be things that you're going to have for your character, and you're still not going to know what they look like. The horseshoes, for example, could have just had a generic image of a horseshoe. It would have been nice to have seen them, create some art themselves, or some, broader things of art. Interesting that the crystal ball didn't have even, it being depicted on the generic placeholder art for the wondrous items. But it is what it is. So still a cool item. I'm glad that I have it. But like I said, I wanted to showcase the positives with the negatives. The last thing that I will say is that many of these cards do not take advantage of the amount of space that they have available to them. And just from filling in form-fillable PDFs over the last few days, the technology is obviously there to start with larger print and continue to shrink the print down as you get more and more text in the space. So having some things like this, for example, is a little bit, it's going to be hard to read. So if you require reading glasses, or if you don't normally go to the table with glasses, but you might need them for this stuff. So I would have liked them to have made better use of the card space for things that don't require a ton of description. So like for the Iron Flask, for example, you're going to need something like this. There's a lot of text that goes to it. Unfortunately, this is like some of the spell cards still will direct you to the proper book and the proper page if you need it. So again, that's totally fine. But for something like this, or even going back to the Boots of Levitation, that was literally a single sentence. It would have been nice for them to have made that bigger, made it easier to read. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the magic item cards. What your thoughts and opinions are of the art, of the size of the font for things that only have very, very brief descriptions. Let me know what your thoughts are. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Take care.